So let me ask you something. When you think about politics in the Philippines, what's the first word that pops into your head? For a lot of people, maybe even for you, it's one word: corruption. And yeah, it's a story we all feel like we know by heart.
You know the one. It's a story filled with these jaw-dropping headlines, right? Billions of pesos just disappearing. A system that feels, just hopelessly and permanently broken. It's this endless cycle, and it feels like it's been going on forever.
But what if that's not the whole picture? Not even close. What if, for every single one of those scandals, there was an equally powerful, equally intense reaction from the people? A story that isn't about giving up, but about a relentless, passionate fight for something better.
The reality, as we're about to see, is this incredible tug-of-war that has literally shaped the country for decades. It's a story about both corruption and resistance. And to really get it, we've got to look way beyond those splashy headlines.
Okay, so first up, let's tackle this common idea, right? The perception that corruption is just baked into the Philippines' DNA. You hear it all the time. The idea that it doesn't matter if it's been 78 years or 1,000 years, it's always the same old story. And look, to be fair, when you look at the numbers, you can kind of see why people think that.
Look at this. On the world stage, the Philippines is consistently ranked way down in the bottom half, 115th. That's not just some random number on a chart. That ranking shapes how the whole world sees the country, and it just feeds right back into that narrative of a nation really struggling with a deep, deep problem.
And the cost? My goodness, the economic cost is just staggering. The World Bank figures that 20%, a fifth of the entire national budget, just evaporates. Poof, gone. And you have to think, that's money for schools, for hospitals, for roads that don't get built. This isn't some abstract political game. This has a real, tangible, painful impact on millions and millions of people. And the headlines? Well, they just keep on coming.
And it's the pattern of it all that's so revealing. It isn't just one kind of corruption. It's everywhere. You've got these almost legendary scandals from way back, like the whole controversy over President Quirino's supposed golden chamber pot.
Then you jump forward in time to scandals that hit right at the core of democracy itself, like the infamous Hello Garci tape back in 2004. A president allegedly caught on tape rigging an election.
And then it evolves into the massive, systematic rot of the pork barrel scam, where the whole legislative system was basically turned into a machine for creating ghost projects and kickbacks. It's just relentless.
Wow, listen to this. This quote from 1949, it just says it all, doesn't it? What do we empower for? A top politician basically saying, hey, let's not pretend we're saints. This is what power is for. It's just so shockingly honest. And it shows you how deep that thinking went. A mindset so blatant, you just knew it was going to provoke an equally massive reaction.
And that's exactly what happened, because here's the other side of the coin. For every single one of those scandals, a powerful counterforce rose up to meet it. So you see, this isn't just a story of corruption. It's a story of anti-corruption. And that leads us to a really key idea for understanding this whole thing. The source material we're looking at calls it a dialectic. Now that might sound a bit academic, but it's a simple idea. Just think of it like a historical push and pull. A big corruption scandal doesn't just happen and then nothing. It actually creates its opposite. It calls forth this huge wave of anti-corruption anger and action. And that dynamic, that push and pull, has been the real engine of political change in the Philippines.
And you can see this pattern play out again and again and again throughout history. The incredible plunder during the Marcos regime, it didn't end with people just giving up. No way. It led directly to the People Power Revolution that kicked him out. President Estrada's Juthengate scandal, it wasn't ignored. It sparked the EDSA-2 protests that removed him from office. And all those scandals under President Arroyo, they paved the way for Noynoy Aquino to win in a landslide, running on one thing, a promise to fight corruption. It's cause and effect. Outrage turns into action, every single time.
So here's the really crucial takeaway. This constant back and forth, this struggle, has done more than just cause protests. It has fundamentally changed the country. It's actually changed how people define corruption itself.
So, back in the day, you'd often hear corruption explained away as, oh, that's just our culture, right? It's all about family loyalty, personal connections, balakasan. But that's changed, thanks to global pressure, and more importantly, decades of people on the ground fighting back. The whole perspective has shifted. Now, more and more, corruption is seen for what it is, a crime. Simple as that. Not some unique cultural quirk, but a universal abuse of power that you have to fight with laws and institutions.
And this shift, well, it's created a modern battlefield that is so much more complicated. We're now in a world where basic facts are up for debate, and history serves up some really strange and fascinating ironies.
Okay, let's look at a recent example, the PhilHealth scandal, right in the middle of the pandemic. I mean, the allegations were just explosive. We're talking 15 billion pesos. That's around $300 million US, just gone. Whistleblowers were talking about wildly overpriced IT gear, money being sent to hospitals that didn't even have COVID patients, funds going to places that were already being investigated for fraud. It seems like a slam dunk, right? A totally clear-cut case of corruption at the absolute worst possible moment.
But then, what was the official response? A flat-out denial. PhilHealth literally called it an enormous lie. And just like that, a 15 billion peso black hole becomes a he said, she said debate, a war of stories. And that is the modern battlefield, where even scandals of this magnitude, with documents and whistleblowers, are fiercely contested.
And then you get the ironies. And this one is a big one. The current administration, under President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., has made good governance and accountability a central theme. A really powerful statement, right? Especially considering he's the son and namesake of the very dictator whose corruption sparked that first people power movement.
But at the exact same time, a brand new audit report from 2024 finds that the government agency in charge of recovering all that stolen wealth from his father's rule isn't even taking care of it. We're talking hundreds of millions of pesos worth of assets, artworks just sitting in improper storage, priceless jewelry that hasn't been valued in years, properties with unpaid taxes. It's a really complex, deeply contradictory picture, to say the least.
So all this complexity, all these contradictions, they lead us to a final and honestly a pretty challenging idea. What if the way we fight corruption, that intense, black and white, good versus evil fight, what if that fight itself creates its own set of hidden dangers?
The source material has a name for this: anti-corruption fundamentalism. Basically, it's the danger of getting so focused on a perfect, zero-tolerance, completely clean version of politics that you totally miss the messy, gray reality that real people live in every single day. It's when you insist on perfect rules for a world that is anything but perfect.
But let me tell you about a boat captain. After a terrible accident that killed 27 people, he admitted it. His boat was overloaded. And yeah, he'd slipped a Coast Guard inspector a tiny bribe, like $2, to ignore it. When a senator grilled him, asking why, his answer wasn't about getting rich. He just said, "This is our livelihood." He broke it down. With the cost of fuel, the competition, he was actually losing money unless the boat was packed. He couldn't afford the correct hull. He couldn't afford to hire the right experts. For him, breaking the rules wasn't a choice. It was about survival.
And that just leaves us with this really difficult question to chew on. For someone like that boat captain, the daily struggle isn't good versus evil. It's following the rules versus feeding your family. So if the big grand war on corruption doesn't have room to understand that reality, is it actually fighting for the people, or is it just fighting for an impossible, perfect idea? It seems pretty clear the struggle, in all its complexity, is a long, long way from being over.